our son is with me
Mm.
in the UK, the likelihood he will see his mom ever in the foreseeable future, it's well at this moment it's non-existent. So for that sake, I mean, I'm just very saddened for my son.
Good morning.
Um, what do you make of? We'll talk about what happened in what's been happening in China. First of all, shall we? What have you made of the protests there?
Well, the first the multiple layers to it. I mean, the first thing I think the cause of it is really the frustration of 3 years long lockdown, and also obviously that puts a lot of people in an economic dire strait. So I think that's the cause of it. I think I think it would be. I mean, we're already seeing in the last 2 days, couple of days, that it's being put out forcefully. So I think it's a matches the first fire of mass protests in Xi Jinping China.
We were speaking to a contributor earlier who's in Beijing who said that he felt that it was what was different this time was because it was about lockdown, it was about stuff that affected everybody. And that's why he felt he'd seen a kind of different demographic of people protesting. I mean, ultimately, if this stuff can be snuffed out fairly quickly by the police, by Chinese forces, then I don't know what the impact of it is. But do you feel disappointed by the fact that it's kind of been snuffed out quite quickly, or do you feel heartened by the volume of the protest?
I'm not disappointed. I mean, first of all, it takes a lot of bravery to go on the street against the CCP within China, because everybody know whoever started it, you may get disappeared. Like the person who had the banner a month ago on the bridge in Beijing, he already disappeared.
Mm.
So it takes a lot of. I mean, you really. I mean, the CCP asks for ultimate sacrifice if you're willing to confront it in public. So that's one aspect of it. But the other side of it is, it is the first time since 1989 that a mass movement across China has happened. Although the scale of it in each city is not that large. I mean, in 1989, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people on the street in each city. Now we're talking maybe a few hundred in most cases. So, but it is as I said, it's a match that like the first fire. The question really is, with this awakening, will we see successive mass movement of it over time? Now China's economy has significantly slowed down.
Mm. And to that point, does it matter? Does it have any impact when Rishi Sunak says the golden era of cooperation, of the relationship between Britain and China is over? Does that have any impact?
In terms
of, I suppose, well, again, whatever that means, whether that means, economic ties being loosened at some point in the future, although, as we pointed out, we have a huge dependence on China, or whether that just means a kind of a further thawing of the relationship between China and Britain. Do you think China are particularly bothered about that? Does it make any difference?
I think the most important instigator of all is the significant slowing down of Chinese economy. This year we're talking about 2 point, depends. I mean, it's basically 2%. Some parties say 2.1, some parties say 2.8, but it's 2 percentage point of growth, which China haven't seen for the last 40 years. And a lot of it is essentially in the last 40 years, is China buying its way onto the world stage, because where there is value set, where there is ideology, it is the bulk of the world doesn't agree with it, but people willing to go with it because because the growth China delivered to every economy around the world.
Mm.
Now with that gone, I think everybody is reassessing. Obviously, Xi Jinping's China has adopted a very, very different diplomatic stance against the rest of the world, and then we are talking about a real chance of war across Taiwan. So the situation, obviously, on the ground is also different. But most importantly, is the significant slowdown take away China's ability to basically buy the world's agreement.
And you and your family are a victim of the regime there. Have you? I'm sure you've been asked this before and you've addressed it before, but do you accept that you will or will not see your ex-wife again?
I mean, the likelihood, our son is with me
Mm.
in the UK. The likelihood he will see his mom ever in the foreseeable future, it's at this moment, it's non-existent. So for that sake, I mean, I'm just very saddened for my son.
Well, of course, and that just kind of lays bare the human cost of this and the discussion that we're having. Desmond, thank you so much for talking to us.